Good morning, everyone. Well, welcome to everyone that are joining us for the final Mishna in the morning before we break for Tisha B'Av. One of the reasons why we break for Tisha B'Av is that the day itself is a day of mourning, and therefore one of the joys in life is learning and studying the Torah. And therefore, because we are in a state of mourning, we're not meant to enjoy tomorrow, and therefore we're forbidden to learn Torah. So it's a difficult day, so that we're not able to learn except for things relating to the day. So let's start by dedicating today's learning. Delighted so many have found their way once again to join us. I'm sure there will be others that will be joining and trying to find their way across from FaceTube to YouTube, or FaceTime, Facebook to YouTube. Anyways, today's learning is dedicated in memory of Leah Bas Bible Tzivi Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shlomo ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beret, Tzipora Fegler Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Elieli, Bena Bas Bible, Frumat Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel. In addition, we have Yortzites for today. Today's learning is also dedicated in memory of Nisan Yedidia ben Avram Leib, Sarah Bas Mendel, Lezer Bas Abraham Yitzchak. I hope that I have not missed anyone else according to my list. That should be it. Wish each and every one of them long life to their respective families. And now we continue. We left you with a conundrum yesterday. Good morning to everyone. Firstly, good morning to David. Good morning to Rachel. Good morning to Powell. And good morning to David number 2. And as David says, all the fellow tubers or YouTubers, whatever you want to call it. So just to be clear, on Friday, we'll be back in the usual time, in the usual place. So that is on Facebook as well as YouTube. But if you're more comfortable in the surroundings of YouTube, then stick with YouTube Live. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. You can always play catch up also on YouTube. Okay, so let's make a start. So we asked a question as follows. The Mishnah says, listen carefully. Let's see, David, if you're going to get this first. Fingers on the buzzers. Any argument that is for the sake of heaven, in the end, it will endure, right? It will be of lasting worth. If it is not an argument that is for the sake of heaven, then ain't sofa liskayim. It will not endure. And we asked the following question, you may recall. What was the question? Who can tell me? The question was that surely we don't want arguments, right? This is what we were discussing yesterday, right? Why is it we say an argument that's for the sake of heaven, that will endure forever? And an argument that's not for the sake of heaven, that will not endure. That will not stay the course of time. I would have thought the exact opposite would be what we would be looking for. Isn't that right, David? And the answer is no. We have to understand what is an argument which is for the sake of heaven, okay? And precisely because of our question, I believe that's why the Mishnah goes on to say, what is an argument that is for the sake of heaven? That is the type of argument like that of between Hillel and Shammai. We know Hillel and Shammai were two of our greatest sages, and they argued over various points of Jewish law. Now, when two great sages are arguing, there is no personal self-interest, there is no ego. It is purely a search and an odyssey to discover truth. What does God want from us? What is the truth? What exactly came down from Sinai? What is it that we are meant to do in this situation? And they argue backwards and forwards until they are able to arrive at an understanding of truth. Okay, and the fact is that both sides, right, although they may be adversaries, quote unquote, in the dispute, in the argument that they are having, the principled argument, once it has been, or they arrive at a conclusion, they are both happy. You know why? Because they were vehicles in order to be able to facilitate a discussion and a conclusion, right? If we were to imagine, let's say, in the current COVID crisis, okay, and let's say there are two schools of thought as to how COVID is transmitted. You've got Professor Whitty and you've got Van Tam, or whatever it is, two great minds, and they're arguing. where they may be arguing tooth and nail, right, cat and dog, backwards and forwards, their point, their perspective. But once they are reach an agreement as to what is the correct analysis, what is the truth in the matter, they are delighted, because the whole point of the argument is not to win, is to arrive at an understanding as to the truth. Okay, so here, so an argument that is for the sake of for the sake of heaven is a point, a principled argument that we want to endure. We want the truth to endure in this world, and therefore that is why we say an argument like Hillel and Shammai that will endure. And then we say, what is an argument that is not for the sake of heaven? That is an argument with Korach and his followers. Now the question is, the famous question is, who was Korach arguing with? Was he arguing with his followers, or was he arguing with Moshe? I always thought, my understanding as a kid was Korach was arguing with Moshe. He was a challenged Moshe and Aaron. He wanted to usurp the leadership for himself. So how can we say that an argument that's not for the sake of heaven is between Korach and his followers? And the answer is that that within a camp such as Korach, there was different factions and fractions, right? There was never a unified voice, right? There was never a common, it was just a common enemy that they clubbed together in order to try to win. And therefore everyone had different perspectives even within that, and all their perspectives were false. So therefore it's a very important idea that we see, and whenever I get involved, and inevitably, I know it may come as a huge shock to each and every one of you to hear that occasionally, just occasionally, there can be communal disagreements. We beg to differ about certain key elements in running a community the size of ours. But the point is, I always try to take a step back and I say, is this too much of my bias, my personal agenda, or is it actually that, you know, this is still for the sake of heaven? And in fact, this is very much the voice, the internal voice that a therapist and those which are engaging with people are meant to take. They're meant to be in a position of neutrality. They have to take a position in the therapy room, and they may, for example, take a certain stance, but it's not that they are wed to that stance. They just think that that is the best stance for this particular engagement. And so therefore I think it is very apropos that we should be discussing this Erev Tisha B'Av, when we are about to change the tone of our next 24 hours. In Israel, hundreds of thousands in a usual year would be going to the Kotel. I always went to the Western Wall with Gila on Tisha B'Av afternoon. You sit down there, or you just say some prayers, and you contemplate and you think about what was and what is. You know, we're left with, everyone gets very excited about the Western Wall. It is the remnant from the destruction of the temple. It is an outer wall. Yeah, so imagine Hadrian's Wall or something of that ilk. It is just a remnant, right? It is a reminder that there was once greatness there. There was once God's voice, his presence that rested on Temple Mount, which is now the Dome of the Rock. A story for another day. And therefore I think it is an important message for us if we want to get back, and we do deep down, we all want the Mashiach, we want an end of the exile, we want redemption, we want an end of COVID, we want truth, honesty and integrity. When we hear, and the reason why we're on YouTube is because of Wiley's tirade against the Jewish people. If we want honesty and we want peace and understanding between different faiths, different peoples, then we have to make sure that internally with our engagements, our discourse between us and our fellow Jews, and then the wider community, that it is from arguing from a place of the sake of heaven. It is searching for the truth, putting the egos to one side, the self-interest, the biases, the prejudices that really hamper our activities. So please God, that will be the case, and we look forward, please God, they say on Tisha B'Av is a day that's very auspicious for the Messiah to come. So if Moshiach comes, please God, and then it becomes from a day of mourning to a day of joy and Yontiv, then the question is how we would recognize Mashiach, because he'll be wearing a mask and therefore we wouldn't be able to come close. But I presume that the idea is that Mashiach is a teacher of the Jewish people and of the world, and through his example, he would be able to inspire those around him that we would know it's the Mashiach. But we hope and pray. There's so much pain, so much sorrow, friends. I can't even begin to tell you. And if you think we've seen an end of this COVID, the fallout from it is just beginning. So we hope and pray Mashiach will come tomorrow. Tradition in Jerusalem is that the women used to sweep the floors of their homes and spruce their houses up in preparation for Mashiach. So we have that tradition in our house. So it's Tisha B'Av afternoon. We make sure that we make a bit of an effort to make sure everything is the way it should be, and we wait, and we wait patiently, and can't wait for us all to be in a rebuilt Jerusalem. If we are in Jerusalem, I can assure you I won't be on YouTube, I won't be on Facebook, but I'll be teaching you in the old city somewhere face to face. In the meantime, let us say the Psalm 23, which is, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shaychen Bamrangmim Amazemenocha Nechaina Akan Veshchem Velos Kedoshim Eterin Kezarakim Asim Es Nishmois Lebas Bible Sibibas Mordechai Avram Ben Dom Slavin Shalom Ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer Ben Shmuel Teret Eliezer Shalom Ben Avram Shmuel Beres Sipera Fegel Bas Ruven Baruch Shalom Ben Elieli Ben Bas Bible from Rosh Hashanah Bas Yaakov Shmuel Nisan Yedidya ben Avram Lev, Sarah Bas Mendo, Lezer ben Avram Yitzchak, Shalach Ulamam, Vegan Aiden Tevenu Chosam, Lachain Balarachamim, Yasirain Besesakan upon Yolamim, Visobas Achamisma Samadina, Nachlasam, Vianducho Bishlamish Kavam, Venomar, Amen. Last year, Shlema, for all those with COVID and other illnesses. Mi Sheber Chavasenu, Avram Yaakov, Moshe Aaron, David Shlomo, Yivarech Rabes Achailim. Bavo shanu mispalim bavo rambis chazakadosh baruch hu yimalei rachim aleihem lachim alafo sam yishlach lem fushlim l'shmaim l'cholim b'soch shachal Yisrael refuas nefesh v'saguv hashem v'kas makarev v'namar amen. If you're looking for me, if we do end up in Jerusalem, please God, Mashiach comes, I'll probably be waiting to give you the Mishna in the morning. It will be by the Froyo stop. You'll know where that shop is when you walk through the old city. In the meantime, I think that's it for now. Wish everyone well over the fast, and even if you can't fast, make sure it's a meaningful day. Use the time constructively, and please God, it'll be the start of a rebuilding of the temple and peace in our time. Amen. Have a great day, and I will see you next on Friday morning when we'll be back on Facebook and YouTube.